Hi everyone and welcome to Bad Boy Breakthrough Coaching. My name is Lorna and what we do is we help women who are tired of attracting the bad boys break free so they can attract a quality guy that meets their needs, wants and desires. And I'm really delighted that you're here with me today, and what we're going to chat about are some of the classic dating mistakes that you can make in the beginning that can keep you single. So I have 7 I want to share with you today. So let's get started. The first one I want to share with you is never ever in the beginning agree to meet at his place. And there's a reason for that. There's 2 reasons and I'm going to share that with you. Okay, so I had a client named Susie and she went out on a Saturday night with a group of friends. There was about 10 of them. And there was this lovely guy that came up and he approached her and he bought her a drink and they had a great conversation. She really enjoyed his time with her. They exchanged phone numbers and he followed up during the week. So everything was great. And then he planned a date. And when he planned the date, he planned that for her to drive to his house and meet him there. And from there they would he would drive her to the restaurant and then they would come back and drive home. So what happened is she met him at his house and they went to the restaurant. She was really enjoying herself, so she decided that she'd have 1 or 2 drinks and they had a really good night, they had a really good meal, really good conversation, and they went back to his. And when they went back to his, he was like, hey, I'm really enjoying your company. Do you want to stay and watch a movie? And we'll have a few snacks. So they stayed and watched a movie. They had a few snacks. But of course, now she's comfy on the couch. It's 1 a.m. in the morning. And she's had a couple of more drinks. So she's kind of sort of not forced herself, but she's in a situation now where she's no get-out clause. She has to stay at his house. And it can be very difficult when you stay at somebody's house and you're male and female to keep the boundaries of, okay, we'll just kiss and that's it. And it leads to a situation where more can happen. And for the girl, this can be difficult because as women, if we sleep with somebody a little bit early, this comes up further on down the line, is the next morning, we don't always feel good about ourselves if something happens a little too far, we feel a little safe, we've had a fun time with him. So in order to not create that situation, the best thing to do is not be anywhere in the area of his house or somewhere that's convenient that you're going to stay on the couch, sitting, relaxing with him late into the evening. And the second reason why we don't want this to happen is because people love to get to know each other over a course of time. If he's met you in his play, you're in his house, you've seen his bed, you've seen his TV, you've seen his family's photos, you're getting down on the couch. It sort of doesn't leave time for you to get to know somebody over a course of time. You kind of, okay, now I know where he lives, now I know what he looks like. There's nothing to look forward to, so it gets rid of that suspense and it creates a little bit too much too quickly, too fast, and that can cause a guy to freak out and disappear, or yourself, you're going to freak out and go, oh my god, too much happened, this is awful, and you don't want to see him anymore. So let's avoid never meeting him at his place in the early stages. Don't do it. Never works out. Don't do it. Okay, the second thing I want to bring your attention to, I'm going to tell you this, let him do the legwork. And what I mean by this is, us as humans, male or female, tend to not value what is free. Humans in general do not value what's free. That's why there's $1 million health business telling us what we already know, which is to eat our greens, to do exercise, to keep our heads healthy. It saves us from heart disease and all sorts of things later on in life. But we don't do it because we breathe fresh air, our hearts beat whether we abuse our bodies or not. And the human race as a whole do not value what is free. And this also applies to relationships, and it applies to the male psychic as well, because something that comes easy is not valued. End of. And so leaving a little bit of mystery and leaving a little bit of letting him get to know you over a longer course of time puts the person in the attitude, I need to accomplish, or I have to work for this. And again, back to the general point, is that humans in general do not value what is easy. So keeping that in the back of your mind is a really good thing to note. Okay. Our third thing I want to bring up here about classic dating mistakes that keep you single is women don't always realize this, but we have more control of what happens in the beginning stages than we think we do. We're always taught, you can listen to hundreds and hundreds of dating coaches, you can go on YouTube right now and listen to loads of advice what to do and what not to do. But here's what I want to share with you, is yes, generally the male pursues, but the woman also, generally, it comes to her choice. And if you know this, you can work this a little bit to your advantage. And how you do this is you can playfully tell a guy, because men as well, they want to please you, they want to make you happy, they love enjoying your company, they love making you feel good about yourself. So you can playfully give him direction on what makes you happy and what satisfies you. And this is a really good skill to have, because this helps you communicate later in your relationship of how you want to be treated and how you want to evolve. And a good place to start is from the beginning, because in the beginning of a relationship we all put on our best selves because we want to impress the person, we want to do a good job, we want them to like us, want them to make us feel good about ourselves, and we make them feel good about themselves. So it's really good to know that you have more control than you think you do about the outcome of your relationship with that guy. My fourth point is having sex too soon. There's loads and loads of information on this, but what I want to share with you today is from the female perspective and not so much from the guy's perspective. Us as women tend to sleep with men because we like him, okay? And you can go out with a guy and have a really fun time, and he makes you feel safe, he says the right things, he compliments you, he makes you feel good, you're in a good space, you enjoy his company, you think afterwards he'll look after you. But the problem is when we as women sleep with men a little bit early, it gets us into our heads that, okay, I slept with him, now does he not know this is a relationship, or does he not know that I like him and I want him and I want him to follow up? Because you've created that physical intimacy, but you haven't created you haven't let time for him to really get to know you, really know what he wants, for you to know what you want. And there's a disconnect between what's happened physically and what's the time span of him getting to know you. And this is where the difficulty happens and the guy can disappear, because it's too much too quickly, your expectations go up, and when men get freaked out they tend to pull away rather than, and us women, we want to talk about it. We want to know why you behave the way you did, what you did, why you're doing it, and talk to us about it. But of course that doesn't happen. So in order to save yourself the hurt and pain, it's best to take your time to get to know him and make sure you're in the right space to sleep with somebody, and not to give it up so early that you're upsetting and hurting yourself. But I will also say on that subject that every situation is different, and I don't feel there's a time limit on when you should or shouldn't. You know the guy, you know your situation, you know how long you've known him, you know how you feel about yourself, you know the consequences, and I don't believe there's a deadline, because I've had clients that have slept with a guy on a first date, I have clients that slept with him 6 weeks later, and I both have boyfriends, some have had not, and it's up to you to figure out how comfortable you feel about that. The next subject I want to talk to you about is to watch out for dates that are too romantic too quickly. Have you ever had a guy ask you out and he's like, I'm actually going to Spain on holiday for a week, do you want to come with me? And it's, or let's go horse riding in this beautiful part of the world and I'll bring wine and a picnic basket and da 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 da. Usually really romantic dates too fast too quickly tend to burn out. It's sort of a red flag. I would just avoid it or redirect it and say, hey, can we meet in a neutral place and have a coffee or go to a restaurant? It takes the pressure off the relationship. So that's another thing to watch. Oh, I love this one. And we all do this. Never tell your new man your bad habits. That goes for both sexes. What we can do, and it can be like a classic mistake, is we can tell somebody our downfalls, and all humans are not perfect, nobody is, but when you say to somebody in a very early stage, first, second or third date, if you share a little bit too much, they can sort of prejudge you, and then sort of their little radar goes out and goes, oh look, she's doing that thing she says she does, oh I don't like that, and it can be a turn off. So it's better off to just, you know, be in the moment, be present, have fun, see how you feel at the end of the date, and sort of walk away and assess it from there. So what do I mean by telling everybody your sort of bad habits? So something you might say would be, you know, the last guy I had cheated on me, so I don't tend to trust men. I tend to fall for people very quickly. I'm still in love with my ex. Any of this stuff are sort of, you're planting the seed for failure. So it's better keep it positive, keep it fun, keep it light, and don't tell them all the dumbass things you do in the beginning of relationships that he can throw back at you later on. So it's best just not to mention it at all. And the seventh subject I want to talk to you about is, I'm going to give you an example to explain this, and that is to tighten up the terms and conditions. So what do I mean by that? So tightening up the terms and conditions means this. I had a friend called Jane. Jane went to work in a restaurant. She was in between jobs and she decided to work in a restaurant. So she walked into the door of a restaurant of a friend of hers and said, look, I'm looking for a job. Do you have a position here? And he said, yes. Why don't you come in next Saturday and we'll give it a trial. So she came in next Saturday, she gave it a trial. Then he said, yeah, this is great, can you come in next week? So she came in next week and she worked for him again. Then when she went home from the restaurant, her friends and family were asking her, oh, how did the restaurant go? And she goes, oh, he liked it, he thought I was a good worker, and it went really well. And then they're like, oh, well, what are you getting paid, or when are you getting paid? And she was like, well, I don't know, I never asked him, I don't know whether I don't know the answer to that. I mean, I presume everything will be alright. So then she went in the third weekend and he said, I don't pay, the first 2 weeks were trial, I don't pay you for them, but I will pay you the next couple of weeks. So she worked the next week and he paid her only a certain amount for whether she worked 8 hours or 12 hours. There was no breaks, and she wasn't getting fed. So all these terms and conditions of the job were not spoken out and were not talked about. So she found herself in a situation where the money was bad, conditions were bad, because she went into a relationship with the restaurant owner too loosely. The same girl, after several conversations, decided to just quit, not knowing where the money's going to come from, what she was going to do next. But by making the decision to quit and walk away from something that was treating her badly, remember we are Bad Boy Breakthrough, from something that was making her badly, not knowing what was coming up next, was the best thing she ever did. Because when she walked away from that, she said to herself, I value myself and I refuse to be treated like that. So she walked away, and 7 days later she found a better job with better money, better conditions, and a wonderful atmosphere to work in. But she walked into her second job saying, this is who I am, this is what I'm good at, this is the way I want to be treated, take it or leave it. Now, if we put this into a relationship, I'm not saying you go in and saying, I want family and kids. No. What I'm saying is you go in with a mindset of what you're worth, what you're about, and what you want from the relationship. And you bring that to the table. You don't necessarily have to have this big, deep conversation from the get-go, but you do change your behavior in such a way that he sees this, he gets that vibe of you, and he gets that you're communicating that. And you get treated very differently from somebody when you go in with, I value myself, I'm worthy of a great relationship, he's lucky to have me, and having this sort of frame of mind attracts a very different person. A person that you're going to want to be with, a person you're going to want to be with. Remember as well, I'm just going to bring up another subject here. Most relationships, like I can't remember the exact percentage, generally fail. So this is why, by taking your time and taking these steps, taking your time to get to know somebody, taking your time to sleep with somebody, taking your time to go visit somebody's house and you don't even know them, taking your time and valuing yourself walking into a relationship changes the perspective and gives time for the relationship to evolve, and narrows out those classic mistakes you make that keep you single. So just to run through them again and give you a quick summary is, never meet him in his place or anywhere near it, because it leaves you open to going too far too quickly and not leaving time to really get to know each other. Let him do the lead work. People do not value what's free. We have more control as women than we think we do in relationships, so use it to your advantage. Sex too soon leads to a pseudo-relationship where women sleep with men because they like them, men sleep with women because they can, and you have to be okay with the outcome if you do that. So taking your time to get to know somebody, I think, is crucial. Watch out for dates that are too romantic. It's normally a red flag. Never tell your new man your bad dating habits, like you tend to rush, you tend to get insecure, you tend to get jealous too easily, you don't like when you're a man. You're just putting up barriers. And the last one is tighten up the terms and conditions. Like the lady who walked into the restaurant and never said what she wanted from the restaurant, and then just ended up leaving weeks later because she felt undervalued, undertreated, because she never communicated what she wanted from the situation and left the power in his hands. So take your power back and tighten up the terms and conditions. If you're getting sloppy results with sloppy behavior, put it up to them a little bit. So I hope this was of value to you. Check us out. I launched our new website on Sunday, www.badboybreakthrough.com. There is a free ebook there for anybody who wants to find out the 15 biggest mistakes that women make that keep them trapped in the bad boys. So check it out on www.badboybreakthrough.com. And remember, yeah, if you remember those classic mistakes and don't do them, you're way ahead of 90% of the women. So take care. I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll chat again in 2 weeks. Okay, see you then. Bye.